So we're gonna do the second part in chapter 2. We did first in chapter 2 the first part. Now is the second part, how to rationalize. Okay. So as I told you when we were doing the geometry, that you cannot leave a radical in the denominator. So now I'm gonna explain for you how to remove this radical and how I will be able to write 3 radical 6 is radical 6 over 2. How we will do this. Okay. So there is an agreement in mathematics that we cannot have a radical in the denominator. It cannot happen. So what we're gonna do? So how do we change the denominator of a fraction without changing the value of the fraction? Of course, you need to be careful. I don't want to change the value of the fraction. It means if I put those two fractions on the calculator, I need to have the same answer. So normally, if I want to do same denominator, for example, for two fractions, I need to multiply both by the same number, okay? So it's the same idea. For example, if I want to change 1 over 4, I can multiply both by, for example, 3. I will have 3 over 12. 3 over 12 and 1 over 4 are both the same value. If I put on the calculator, how am I going to do this with the radicals? We will see. Till here, you don't need to write anything, okay? You start to write from this. From here. I have 1 over radical. How am I going to change radical 3 to have it without a radical, to rationalize it? We say to rationalize. So we need to think about what number can we multiply by radical 3 to change into a rational number. What does mean rational number? And no radical. So radical 3 times what gives me a whole number without a radical. So radical 3 times itself. So all the time, when I see in the denominator a radical, one radical, I will multiply it by itself. Because radical 3 times radical 3 gives me radical 3 squared. And what radical 3 squared is 3. Oh, it's radical 9 and it's 3. So I will go back a little bit so you can write. So to be able to rationalize the denominator, I need to multiply it by itself. So here I have radical 3. So I multiply by itself. It's radical 3 times radical 3. It gives me 3. So here I'm going to multiply my numerator and my denominator. Well, this one, the rule, you know it. So I'm going to multiply my numerator and my denominator by radical 3. So what I will have? 1 times radical 3 over radical 3 times radical 3. What is 1 times radical 3? It's radical 3. And radical 3 times radical 3, it's 3. It's radical 3 squared, it's 3. So now, if I look at my denominator, it's not anymore irrational. So it's radical 3 over 3. We still have radical in the numerator. I don't care. And my objective is to remove the radical from my denominator. So this is my simplified answer. I think you saw that when I was doing Pythagoras and I was simplifying. You were asking me, Miss, what is this? I told you, you're going to see it later. That's it. Let's try another one. Let's try another. So here if I have 4 over radical 2, also I multiply both by radical 2. I will have 4 radical 2 over radical 2 times radical 2 gives me 2. But here if I can simplify, you need to simplify. So what is 4 over 2? Gives me 2. So I can simplify it and I will have 2 radical. So my final answer, my rationalized answer is 2 radical 2. Again, another one. What is my denominator here? Radical 12. So I multiply both by radical 12. So I will have radical 8 times radical 12 is radical 96 over 12. And sure, you need to simplify radical 96 as we were doing before. You know that. We did it before. Because I will decompose radical 96. It's 16 times 6. And what's radical 16? 4 radical 6. And then I didn't finish. I need to simplify 4 and 12. So it will be 6 over radical 3. Okay? Then, we're done from this. But if it's an expression, when there is a binomial with a radical in the denominator of a fraction, what we're going to do, we're going to find the conjugate and multiply by the conjugate. And this gives me a rational denominator. What does it? Example, if I have radical 5 plus 6, the conjugate, and I change the sign in between here. Okay, if it's plus, it becomes minus. So what is the conjugate of radical 5 plus 6? It's radical 5 minus 6. Why I will do like this? If you multiply by the conjugate, the radical will cancel. I will tell you why. What is the conjugate of 3 minus 2 radical 2? 3 plus 2 radical 2. Then I'm going to do an example. So here I have an expression, not just radical 5, radical 2, radical 3. I have radical 5 plus something, radical 2 plus something, okay? It could be radical 3 minus radical 2. It could be 2 radicals. So you cannot just multiply like this by one radical. You need to multiply it by the conjugate. The conjugate, it means you change the sign in between. It's a trick, يعني بس مش إنه it's a rule like this. I change the sign in between. Okay, so what is the conjugate of 2 radical 7 plus 3? It's what? Yes, it's 2 radical 7 minus 3. Then let's try to rationalize this one. So I look at I don't care about my numerator. I need to multiply the denominator by the conjugate. What is the conjugate of radical 5 minus 3? It's radical 5 plus 3. I multiply both numerator and denominator, and then I'm gonna develop normally. And I prefer if you want to put parentheses. Here they didn't put, and I prefer parentheses, okay? Multiply by the conjugate, and then I will have this answer. How? I'm gonna explain how they got this answer. Okay, I'm gonna write and explain how they got it. Sure, as I told you, Anna, I prefer that I have here parentheses. In the PowerPoint, I didn't put it. I didn't put it. Sorry. Okay. Then I will start to multiply. Distribute the numerator. Radical 5 times radical 5 is 5. Radical 5 times 3, 3 radical 5. Then I go to 6. 6 times radical 5, 6 radical 5. 6 times 3, 80. Now, my denominator, why it's 5 minus 9? This is A minus B. This is an identity times A plus B. And the identity will give me A squared minus B squared. Did you see how I can cancel the radical? Because radical 5 squared gives me 5. And 3 squared gives me 9. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm sure that you can get the answer. You can see the writing, my writing. And then I will continue. I will simplify my numerator. 5 plus 18 and 3 radical 5 plus 3. 6 radical 5 plus 3 radical 5. I will have 5 plus 18. Take my time. Okay. I just wait a little bit. I want to be sure that you saw the writing. So here it's written A minus B times A plus B. It's an identity. It's A squared minus B squared, the denominator. You can develop normally the denominator if you want. Radical 5 times radical 5, radical 5 times 3, but it's faster to use the identity. Now I'm gonna move. Then after I will simplify. Wait. Okay, here. I didn't write the final answer. I didn't notice that. Okay, I'm gonna write the final answer here. I'm sorry, brevet. Okay, so I'm gonna add 5 plus 18. It's equal 23. So I'm gonna have here 23 plus 6 radical 5 plus 3 radical 5, 9 radical 5 over 5 minus 9 minus 4. And this is my final answer. I'm really sorry. I thought I wrote the answer. Okay, so this is my final answer. So 23 plus 9 radical 5 over minus 4. We'll wait a little bit and then we'll do another example. Okay. Yeah, gonna move. Now this is another example. How to do 2 over 5 plus radical. Also, the conjugate of 5 plus radical 2 is 5 minus radical 2. So I'll multiply both by 5 minus radical 2. It's an explosion. So I'm gonna multiply it. I will explain step by step. Don't worry. So here I have, there is parentheses. It's much more better like this. Okay. 2 times 5. 2 times minus radical 2, and this is an identity, as I said. A plus B times A minus B. It gives me A squared minus B squared. So hey, the A plus B times A minus B. And then it's A squared, 5 squared minus B squared minus radical 2 squared, it's 2. Then I have 2 times 5, 10, minus 2 radical 2 over 5 squared, 25. 25 minus 2, it's 23. And this is my final answer. It's rationalized. I don't have any more radical in my denominator. That's it. We're going to do more practice in the chapter. I still have one small part in the chapter. I will do another video.